Let's hear from Sean McDermott. He also spoke yesterday about where Josh Allen is right now. I think that's an important
we gotta
thing
get there.
to hear, given what
Right.
Chris just said, and given what I'm going to say, after we hear from Sean McDermott. Here he is.
Yeah, I mean, probably not where we'd like him to be, and that's natural based on some of the results that we've gotten this year, some of the results he's gotten, some of the turnovers in particular, and but I'm confident that he'll find it, and I think again, just some of the new energy around our offense. My hope is, and my aim is that it'll create a little bit of confidence, clarity, and ability to anticipate it as opposed to, in some cases, react. And I think that's what a part of playing the quarterback position is all about.
Okay, Chris, I'm going to say something now that you probably won't like to hear, and you're probably going to push back, and that's fine, but it needs to be said. At some point, the problem lies with 17. At some point, it's on him. At some point, when you lead the league in interceptions, you can't be top 3 in the Chris Simms quarterback rankings. You can't lead the league in interceptions and be one of the best quarterbacks in football. At some point, if you're in the middle of all this chaos and there isn't a plan, you can't be deferential. You can't sit there when Stephon Diggs is gesticulating in your face. You gotta stand up and take charge of your team at some point. And I don't see that from Josh Allen. He's too much of a bystander to this process. Great talent. He's out there running around trying to make magic happen, and he at times is on the wrong side of what his physical abilities would permit.
Sure.
We see that from guys.
Sure.
They think they can do anything until they find out that they can't. But I hold him to the standard of, and we'll put Mahomes in there. I think Mahomes is a guy. If stuff's going on that isn't right, he's going to take charge. Peyton Manning. Put Peyton Manning in the situation in Buffalo with an offense that has no rhythm, no flow, no strategy. There's relying too much on me. At some point, Peyton Manning's going to be flipping chairs over and knocking tables down and telling Ken Dorsey and telling Sean McDermott and telling Joe Brady, this is how it's going to be. At some point, Josh Allen can't just be the guy riding the bus. At some point, he's got to take the wheel of the bus if he's going to be as great as he can be. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I don't. You say a lot of good things there. I understand where you're coming from there. I don't think it's naturally in him to be the I'm gonna mother F guys and get on guys and ride them all the time. You know, when things aren't great, maybe like a Brady or a Manning was. I don't think that's in him.
Maybe he needs,
maybe he needs to get it to be.
Maybe he needs to.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you totally. I think it's probably a part of where he's at. I think he's a leader in the fact that the locker room, everybody loves him. He's a great guy. They see his work ethic. He points the finger at self, I think, very quickly when things don't go well, right? Maybe too much to your point, to where he's got to be like, hey, what the F? Can you guys run the ball? Can we block a little better? Can somebody else get open? Can you catch the ball when you're wide open over the middle and I throw it right between your two hands? All right. Like, yeah, there's probably got to be a little bit of that. You know, I would agree with you there. But that it's not in everybody, or it has to be some sort of moment or some sort of leader above you that emboldens you there, right? Like, I don't think Tom Brady was that guy. But I think he learned in New England through Belichick and all that, and he became that guy. He had somebody that pushed him that way, Charlie Weiss, and that made him that way. So he hasn't had that yet. And I don't disagree with you in that aspect of, maybe he needs to be a little bit more of a, I don't want to say squeaky wheel, but a guy that demands more from everybody else in the locker room along with himself, and it just puts everybody on edge. That certainly is something I look at and go, yeah, he could get better in that department. No doubt about that, Mike.
Quarterback's in a unique position to hold teammates accountable. It's one thing to hear it from the coaches. It's the other thing to hear it from the quarterback. And you're either wired that way or you're not. And I think it's one of the ingredients for true greatness, for legacies that include multiple Super Bowl wins. At this rate, Josh Allen's not even going to get to one, right? They thought he was going to surpass Jim Kelly by being the first guy to win one. Kelly went to 4. Allen may never get to 1. And I think there's still hope.
Yeah.
But, this is my other point. And I know that we disagree on whether and to what extent Sean McDermott should be in trouble. And this isn't a McDermott take as much as it is something I've said before, and Chris, I've come to believe it more and more strongly in today's NFL. The way the game works, the way the rules are increasingly skewed toward fueling the passing game, points and yards and points and yards, and that's how you win with a quarterback that can get it done. I would never hire a defensive head coach. I would never do it, because when you're the defensive head coach, look at what's going on in Houston right now. Texans fans are going to get upset with me. C.J. Stroud's great. Well, Bobby Slowick's going to end up being a head coach this year or next year because of C.J. Stroud. So in comes a new offensive coordinator. Maybe you get lucky, maybe you don't. And what happened with Buffalo, they had the perfect guy in Brian Daboll. He becomes the head coach of the Giants. And Ken Dorsey, not getting it done, obviously. And look, I had doubts about Dorsey from the moment he had that hissy fit in the coach's box after they lost the game to the Dolphins. I mean, it was troubling. He's throwing stuff around like there was a snake loose in there or something. I mean, it was like you see it, it's like, what the hell was that? Like, that's, dude, like you got to, this ain't life or death. And something was missing. Something was missing with Dorsey. And, you get 25, 26 games to come to the conclusion that he's just not the guy. I would want head coach who's the offensive guy, the quarterback guru who is joined at the hip with the quarterback and will be there for as long as the quarterback. And take him on that ride, Chris. Push him on that path. Be there for the full development. Look at what Kirk Cousins became before he got injured in 2 years with Kevin O'Connell. Look at what Josh Dobbs became in 2 weeks with Kevin O'Connell. The Vikings don't have to worry about Kevin O'Connell leaving unless Texas A&M calls him too. Who the hell knows? But that for today's NFL, that's what you need, because once you get everything working, there goes the coordinator. Now we got to hire somebody else and hope that he can continue the overall development. It's not a one-season thing. I know each team is kind of 1 year at a time. But when you have a quarterback that's going to be there 10 or 15 years, you've got a broader career development that I think it's better to have like Sean Payton and Drew Brees joined at the hip. It's better to have Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa together. And I just think that's a general observation that may affect decisions in Buffalo and may affect decisions elsewhere. I just think it's the reality of today's NFL, because you don't want to find yourself in a spot where the guy that was the closest one to your quarterback and presiding over his success is now gone.
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the big reasons why the Bills have fallen off.
Well, I don't disagree with a ton of what you're saying. I mean, we know, the NFL, it's about the offense and the quarterback and the yards and fantasy and all of that right now, right? And you look at the top teams in football, and most of them are coached by offensive coaches, right? The ones where we talk about, like Baltimore special teams head coach, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers, right? You get into them, okay? You talk about the Seattle Seahawks. That's another team, right? But it's few and far between. And my point there is just I wouldn't get rid of Sean McDermott just to take a shot on, I think we might get the next offensive genius. I'm not sure. That's what I would say there, right? Now, there's other issues that have all played into this, but I understand where you're going with your thought all there. But again, I look at it and some of it, and I go, Sean McDermott certainly deserves blame, but you've heard us complain about the roster and lack of blue chip players, and maybe they've hung on to the lifelong line of this team a little too long, thinking that, hey, we're so close, we might get there, instead of like the Chiefs who looked at it and went, wait, we went to the Super Bowl, we lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, we got to get young, and they became the youngest team in football and then went to the Super Bowl next year and won it. That was amazing. I think they've held on to this group maybe a little too long. And then to your point, too, about talking about, hey, you got a quarterback, firepower, where the league's headed. I don't feel like they've ever gone all in on that department with Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen's so good, they've kind of go, he'll make the offense work. Let's try to spread the wealth everywhere a little bit. And I don't think that's really helped their football team. I'd go, hey, make the defense a little less worse and make the offense a little bit better, and they'll be so awesome and unstoppable. They'll have such an elite unit there that the defense will look better because the offense is going to make how teams change how they play. There's things there that I just don't agree with how they've approached it all the way, let alone, I don't think there's been top-tier talent next to Josh Allen as compared to any of the other top quarterbacks in football. And I think that's where they have failed him to a degree, in my opinion.
Well, they definitely have a problem because one of the things that I've detected in the aftermath of the Monday night debacle with the 12 guys on the field, and Miles Simmons and I spent a whole hour talking about this yesterday, Bills Mafia has turned. It was Bills Mafia joining with the team in the circling of the wagons and giving the finger to anyone like us who would say, you know what, they're not as good as they need to be. Up until Monday night, Bills Mafia would defend to the death whatever anyone on the outside would say about their beloved team. Now they're ready. They're ready to get rid of all of them. Get rid of all of them. Fire everybody. What's going on here? This is unacceptable. And it all happened on Monday night. And that may be the easiest explanation as to why Sean McDermott did what he did yesterday. He had to do something because everyone went from being defend to attack in one game.
Yes.
And it'd been building. They want Josh Allen to run more, and I think they could use him more. I know they're worried about keeping him healthy, but it's a hell of a weapon.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a way to keep the defense on its heels.
Right.
When Josh Allen takes off, we don't see that much. Maybe we'll see it more with Joe Brady. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.